This video has been sponsored by Affler and Retainful.
Hey Shopify fam, welcome back to the One Shopify podcast, your weekly dose of TTCT, digital hustle, and a strict no boasting zone. You all know what I mean. Powered by our partners at Affleur and Retainful, tools that help brands build loyal communities and boost revenue with smart automation. I'm your host Ashika, and today we are unpacking a really painful point that many of you damn near about marketing automation without the burnout. My guest today, she's a wizard in the HubSpot world, a sharp strategist, and someone who's been helping business across the globe set up workflows that actually work. Say hello to Margarita, CRM, and marketing strategies at Insider. Let's jump right in. And yeah, let me grab my coffee because this one's all about working smart and not hard. Margarita, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yes, likewise. Okay, let's start with this. Automation was supposed to save marketers time, right? But so many people I talk to feel more overwhelmed because of it. Why is that? What's going wrong?
Right. Yes. Totally. I mean, automation, it's supposed to be a time saver. It often ends up going like the opposite way when we skip like the strategy part, which is like what I really wanted to discuss with you today, because it's like, having suddenly super fancy kitchen and no one that knows how to cook. You've got the tools, but you have no plan. So before building any automation, you need to ask like, why am I automating this? Is it because I'm a solo founder and I'm wearing like 20 hats at the same time? My team is running repetitive tasks. That's also a cause of that. Or maybe I need more visibility on
Hmm.
what's happening across sales, service, marketing, support.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, only after understanding like the why, can you define what exactly needs to be automated, and most importantly, what you do with the time you save. So this is
Mm-hmm.
also a very key part of people knowing, and it's when the automation actually becomes very powerful. It's not just like plug and play. You have to map all the scenarios. What are the edge cases that could
Mm-hmm.
break this automation that you're trying to build?
Mm-hmm.
Build, fail, state.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably discuss this later, but always get notifications or reports when something falls outside of the workflow that you're trying to build. So that's data, that's information speaking. And testing always before launch, revisit that automation often. Otherwise, you will end up like editing workflows on a weekly basis, and that is of course exhausting and it defeats the purpose. So basically, just automation saves your time in the long run, but in the short term, it's an investment and it deserves to be treated as a priority. And it's not like a low effort task on the to-do list. It's something that you really need to be focused on at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Is burnout in marketing a system fail or a mindset thing? Like, are we automating the wrong stuff or just trying to automate everything and frying out our brains in the process?
Yeah, we actually don't need to automate everything. Sometimes even automation is not the right like
Mhm.
response to a problem. Yeah.
So, what are the red flags that a brand's workflow is sabotaging you instead of saving us? Like, when does the streamlined turns into a stress stream?
Right. So context before like those red flags. So you need to make sure that uh burnout, like as you were discussing,
Mm-hmm.
caused by mindset and system, and they go hand to hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you approach automation as a quick fix, you will build a quick fix solution, right? Sometimes
Okay.
I see clients and people integrating 25 apps into HubSpot without checking if HubSpot could have like handled 80% of
Mm-hmm.
those integrations natively,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not thinking in the long term. So there's no central naming convention, there's no folder organization in the system. There isn't a mapping board that will help you like have the full picture. So when something breaks, no one knows where to look at, and you end up wasting more time like debugging than the automation never like saved you. So yeah, burnout often starts with like the mindset if you treat automation like a checklist instead of like a strategic system. So based on that, like the red flags that you could also be seeing is for example, your team keeps asking what happens next or what they need to do, right? So that would mean that the process isn't clear. That would mean that the automation isn't triggering correctly. You know, if you constantly have questions from your team, like where should I, where should I update this information? Where should I save it? What I do next? What is this task for? So that's a clear red flag. Other one is maybe that no one is responsible for which workflow is doing a certain action, right? So that's like a poor naming convention or poor organization in the system, or documentation of the process. So that's a red flag too. Maybe when you have multiple tools doing the same job, you know. So this goes with what I was saying of people integrating a lot of systems. In this case, I work with HubSpot, so I see a lot of apps that do something that HubSpot could do since the beginning, but also multiple apps doing the same thing. Redundant that is scaled. Uh, if you're using 5 apps to send emails or to track leads, it's just time to simplify those tools that you're using. If you're manually fixing things all the time. So if the automation that you build needs constant like babysitting, right? If it's not really an automation, red flag, like immediately. If you're editing the same workflow every week, right? Because I see this happening a lot for newsletters, for example. So they go, when they say the newsletter on a weekly basis and they need to go every week to edit the sender or the subject or so that means that they weren't built like with flexibility or future growth in mind.
Yes.
People ignoring reports or notifications, that's also a very common red flag. That's a sign that the outputs that you are doing are not aligned with what your team actually needs to see. So they may be too noisy or irrelevant, so no one even cares about them. And also not knowing where the data lives. So this goes back to the one of the first things that I mentioned. So when a team member asks, where do I find this information? You've got a visibility issue or an architectural issue you need to fix.
Let's talk the solutions. Like, let's say you're starting fresh with a new client. What's step one in building an automation system that actually works and doesn't turn into a digital disaster?
Okay. Well, investigation, I guess, always. You'll be surprised on how clients ask for things that they don't actually need, right? Just because they heard that this is a good practice or that else is doing it. So I usually ask a lot of questions like, why do you think you need this? What does this process look like today? Who's involved in that process? What would happen if we don't automate this? So it's about understanding like the full picture, their industry team size, the journey of their customers, their past tools, their data history. And a big one for me is also what are you people going to do with the time that this is going to take? Because that will tell me how we should present that data, whether they need like reports or if we should like customize certain views in the tool to make things easier for teams. And yeah, like it's just not a matter of like automate, right? Automation is not only about automation. So the goal is to actually make people work more intentional on what they need and focus.
Oh, that's very cool. And you're a HubSpot pro, but forget the tools for a second. And what's the one golden rule you always stick to when building workflows that actually gets stuff done, that delivers the results faster? What is the one?
Um, right, a principle. Well, the system doesn't read your mind. So you need to build like you're talking to a robot, not a human being, right? Like humans think in context. So, oh, this trigger makes sense right here because they have a full context, but platforms don't. So
Mhm.
platforms like HubSpot don't work like that. Every decision has to be mapped out like very crystal clear logic.
Mhm.
And I always start with like, what is the purpose of this automation that I'm going to build?
Mhm.
What outcome am I expecting from it?
Mhm. Mhm.
And what else in the system does this touch? And this is a big one
Wow.
because yes, like one tiny workflow can mess up five others workflows that if you're not careful, right? So that is a very important question. And just having that clear picture of, and if you have that mapping board in a lucid chart, in a Miro board, whatever, that will help you understand that every automation that you're putting in new will
Mhm.
affect something or
Mhm.
right. And you need to have that in mind. So that's why I constantly check like, does this interfere with anything else that is already running?
Mhm.
That will be a principle, yes.
Cool. And where do marketers overcomplicate things when setting up automation? Where do they mess up?
Uh, in a lot of things, but maybe capturing and using the data in a smart way. So
What?
a lot of marketers are usually obsessed like with over segmenting and personalizing, but their data is like a mess, right?
Oh.
So they create a ton of like custom properties without defining
Mhm.
how or when to use them. Um, right? So they're not thinking like again in the long term and something that is scalable or that if the business grows and it gets bigger, you can still use that automation. They're just thinking on the short term. So they don't train the team to fill like those properties out. For example, they
Mhm.
just create a bunch of custom properties. Let's
Mhm.
say that I don't know, a clothing store, right? And I want to track what people are buying or liking. And then I want to track the color of the shirt that you picked and the
Mhm.
store and maybe the time that you make that purchase because I don't know, I'm gonna try to make a strategy on when do you buy more in the time of the day.
Yeah.
And and we start creating all these custom properties that at the end people are not looking at, they don't even know that they exist and you're not using them for reporting. So you're just like creating a bunch of mails and properties and information that is like
Mhm.
it's meant to over segment things that will
Okay.
not actually be useful in the future. So they try to get like very granular too early. Like if you're still figuring out your basic lead to customer journey, maybe don't
Mhm.
build like 20 conditional branch logic based on emoji click behavior or something like that. So just keep it
Okay.
simple, scalable, and flexible at first, and then you can iterate that.
Okay. Good. Got it. And what's
Yeah.
one underrated workflow setup that more Shopify brands should absolutely be using?
Post purchase follow up will be one.
Mm-hmm.
Based on product type, based on the timing, the delivery timing, like just
Mm-hmm.
avoid like those generic thanks for your order kind of communication. I
Mm-hmm.
mean more like smart follow-up based on the kind of product that they bought, the delivery window that the product has, when that product might run out as well. So from there you can trigger feedback requests, you can trigger reorder like nudge, product usage tips, like sharing tips with a customer, or even like a cross-sell recommendation, right? If you have that information and you're reading it in the right way, you can recommend like a cross-sell. Um, and of course, if you tie this process into customer support, like triggering a ticket on feedback from the when the product was like delivered or has been marked as delivered in day X, that will be like a bonus. Absolutely.
Okay, okay, got it. And let's zone in on retention. What's one automation that has consistently helped your clients turn one-time buyers into a loyal, repeated customers?
Um, okay, so for loyalty,
Mhm.
I would say renewals, which is kind of like very related to my point before. Renewal based automation is 100% like recommended. Like if you're selling a product that you know that it has a cycle, right? A usage cycle,
Mm-hmm.
um, skincare, food, supplements, whatever, you probably would know where that product will run out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use that window and you treat it like you use it to re-engage with your customer, like with a coupon, with a reorder reminder, or even just like helping with tips again on how to get like the most benefits of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, that will be great. And also not just about timing, but like it has to feel personal. So this is where actually good segmentation of your database
Yeah.
comes into place, right? Because you don't want to sound like a robot to all of your customers. You want to sound like I know you, right? It's like I got your back. I know what
Mhm.
you like. So the communication is like meant for you.
That's a very important point that everybody should take a look at. And people
Mm.
talk about life cycle emails all the time, but rarely execute them well. What does a truly effective life cycle work look like? Look to you.
Um, Well, to send life cycle emails, you like the first thing that you will need
Mm-hmm.
is to guarantee that your CRM is updated, right? If your
Okay.
contacts don't have an accurate life cycle stage or you're not correctly tracking like a lead status,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically flying blind,
Yeah.
right? So, um, sometimes if that information is not really organized or it's empty, you will end up like, for example, sending a thank you for being a loyal customer kind of email to
Mhm.
someone that is a lead that,
Yes.
that hasn't even
Yes.
visited your website or something. So for me, like the first part will be to take a look at the life cycle stage automation, lead status automation. How are you updating a contact correctly at every stage?
Mm-hmm.
Are you tracking those key actions like when they did like purchase for the first time, or if there was any like interaction with customer success support, a ticket, a churn? Um, are we actually like tracking that engagement or
Mm-hmm.
on our leads and our communication?
Mm-hmm.
Because once that is in place, then you can layer like those nurture sequences, education, win backs, and all of that like life cycle emails that people
Mm-hmm.
talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I believe that that is not really working is not because of the life cycle email, because that's really like something kind of like very straightforward to do. Is more that the database isn't prepared and doesn't have that information for you to actually do a life cycle email campaign or yeah, sequence.
Okay. And let's bring it to the Shopify DTC brand. What's one retention strategy that they're not automating, but act totally they should be doing it?
Um, Probably replenishment numbers, like based on the product user
Mhm.
cycles or like the lifetime value of the product, like so many brands
Mhm.
just let customer go after that like first sale, right?
Okay.
Um, there's no like a timing or an automation on like, hey, do you need more kind of like messages that they can work wonders. Like especially if they, as I said, if you pair them with an exclusive offer, if you pair them with a cross-sell suggestion based on what they product they purchase, sorry, content that talks about that specific product or that
Mhm.
category of products that you know that that person is acquiring for a fact. Um, so that is good, and that also, for example, for a solo
Mhm.
person, right, with his business, you don't need a big team to do this, and we know
Mhm.
that usually most of like the Shopify brands, they don't have like a big marketing team that can take
Yeah.
the lead on this kind of thing. So that's why automation in there can really like do something, step up the game, help them. It's just a clear trigger and a thoughtful message will be enough. So
Mhm.
for example, you could do tend to reorder campaigns, right? Like
Mhm.
renewals
Mhm.
based on the product usage life cycle. So for example, if
Mhm.
someone buys a 30-day supplement,
Mhm.
email them at the 25-day, right? With a reorder CPA. Clear,
Mhm.
simple, like don't make them do like a lot of steps. Just like,
Okay.
the product lasts for 30 days, just reach out 5 days prior to that,
Mhm.
reorder, you already know the guy. So it will have like, it's an incentive and you can really like expand on this. You could use a first purchase anniversary. So again, if you're tracking the correct information and you know that I bought your product for the first time on May 14th, then please reach out to me next year because probably I want to know more about your product, or if you want to, like just communicate, celebrate the date someone became a customer with a thank you and a discount, something like that. If you have a loyalty program, that also could be like a really good automation to have. Like if they spend a certain amount of money or they order a certain amount of like products, you can automatically like notify them about like the perks of like upgrading, or you have become like this. You know how many services right now have like this silver, platinum, gold tier thing, and they give you benefits for it. That usually works. Like for me, it works a lot.
Yes.
If I see the benefits of getting like a discount, or maybe I got a free delivery, right? Because I'm a gold client, that totally will not only make me feel like special, but also will
Yes.
keep me very motivated of like keeping up with my purchase, or like buying and reordering things to keep that goal here.
Yes.
Win back campaign, subscription, upsell automation. So there's a lot of things in here. Yeah.
Yes. So I can't agree with you. And as you said, most Shopify brands don't have huge marketing teams. For lean teams juggling 5 million things, what's your playbook for automation that's manageable but still powerful?
Mm. Yeah, you don't need to automate everything at once. So I'll say
Mm-hmm.
a welcome flow,
Yeah.
right? For like this first time buyers or
Mm-hmm.
subscribers, like get them excited about like your business, get them informed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cart abandoned, non-negotiable, like yeah, is still one of the highest ROI flows
Yes.
that I've seen, right? If you just put something and you made it to like put things in a cart,
Mm-hmm.
it's you're already there, right? Like there's like a minimum distance between you becoming a customer and you just like completely abandoning, right? So
Yes.
that email is very good. It's better than no communication at all.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you do buy like a post-purchase flow,
Mm-hmm.
follow-up, education, upsell, review, that will absolutely work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like the everything related to the customer support kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have any issues,
Mm-hmm.
root key issues automatically and keep like the
Mm-hmm.
customer in the loop will be important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and not really much. Like you don't need much. You just need to pay attention to the smart ones. That's
Okay.
it. Yes.
Okay. And what about the agency owners or freelancers managing multiple clients? How can they systemize their automation process without burning out times?
Visibility. Just
Okay.
ensuring that you have like visibility as a key is something. You can use like a workflow or mapping board of each client.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's just like a chart, again, a Lucy chart, a Miro board, PowerPoint even, where you need to see what exists in there, how the portal looks like, what are the processes that are in place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Set naming conventions, if you have an agency,
Mm-hmm.
have a structure, have a plan for all of your customers to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So, or your employees, sorry. So if you have naming conventions, if you have like, this is how we do things, this is how we organize folders, this is how we build lists, this is how we name properties, you'll thank yourself later and all of your team members will do, because regardless of the account that you're working on, you can understand how the information is organized, right? When you standardize like processes. Um, and maybe AI tools, that
Mm-hmm.
make your life easier.
Very easy.
Fathom or any recording tool, it's very good to have that you can summarize your notes, that you can put them directly in the record, that you can extract like what are the next steps or action items so you don't forget anything. I'll say that's very important. So document everything that you do. So you might not be like managing that account forever, right?
Yes.
By whatever reason it is, but in the future you deserve like a clean system. So document it's also good.
personally avoid automation burnout? Like, what habits or frameworks do you use to keep your brain calm when systems get chaotic?
It happens. It gets real. Um, right. So great question. I actually I'm a very organized person, so I organize everything at first.
Mhm.
Every workflow that I build has a description, an owner, a category, like no exceptions.
Right.
That mapping board that I've been talking about, I always do a mapping board so I can like
Okay.
zoom out, get a clear picture, see the big picture of what I'm implementing and avoid any like duplication or logic crashes,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So as I was saying before, like in the beginning, mapping board helps you not only having like the big picture, but also helps you if you need to edit a process in the future, you will understand in a much easier way
Mhm.
what is the impact that that edit will do on any other processes that you already have ongoing,
Mhm.
right? So,
Mhm.
and also when something feels too complex, when you're like over engineering,
Mhm.
uh, walk away, come back and ask yourself, what's the actual problem that this is solving, right? And this automation needs to be like this complex or I'm over engineering it, right? Because
Yes.
sometimes the best fix is deleting something that's no longer useful, that people are no longer using, right?
Yes.
Being over clever always. That would be it, yeah.
Good. Good. Great to hear that you're an organized person. All right. All right. So let's do a rapid fire round. Just say whatever comes to your mind. Ready?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So marketing automation in one word.
Timing. Perfect timing. Yeah, 2 words.
Great. One automation tool you can't live without.
HubSpot, definitely.
Okay. One thing marketers should stop automating right now.
Um, Fake urgency, like those
Mhm.
only 2 items left or something like that when you know it's not true.
Okay. Uh, yeah. Most underrated metric in automation.
Contacts that don't meet the criteria in a workflow. If someone is being left out, that's data talking to you. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, and an automation mistake that you make that still haunts you.
Uh, using using the wrong object in when
Okay.
I'm trying to build something, like trying to automate from deals when it actually it's something it's data that lives in the ticket or something like that.
Okay. Okay. And finally, what's one automation principle you wish every marketer just understood from day one?
Um, Open text fields are not your friend. Like just use properties that you can report and segment on. Your
Yeah.
future self will thank you for that. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, Margarita, you crushed it. Thank you for bringing clarity to a topic that usually just creates chaos. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and to everyone listening, you don't have to burn out to scale up. The workflows can work for you if you build them right and no, not doing over segmenting. And be sure to connect with Margarita on LinkedIn. She drops gold on all things CRM and automation. We'll drop her link in the comment description. And that's a wrap on another the One Shopify podcast deep dive. If you got value from this, hit the follow button, share with a fellow DTC founder, and check out the next episode where we are talking about. As usual, I'm not spilling the tea right now. Stay tuned. Catch us next week for another Shopify deep dive. Until then, automate smart, sleep well, and stay curious. This is Ashika signing off from the One Shopify podcast.